Hey, how's it going, everyone? This is Todd Zilla with Zilla Fantasy Elite. I just want to give a quick audio clip. I guess it's going to come in video form since I really only have a YouTube channel and don't post anything to podcast channels yet. But this is just kind of a Scott Fish Bowl tournament winning strategy guide, kind of based off of what a lot of the Pick 11 chat has been talking about over the past couple of weeks since we got assigned our draft positions and have been discussing strategies and stuff. And obviously there's different opinions about what people are going to be doing, but a lot of what the Pick 11 stuff has come to as far as if you want to win the tournament. So a lot of these people, they want to make a name for themselves, so they want to win this tournament. And just kind of the strategy behind what a lot of us are going to be doing there is doing that wide receiver heavy start. Is just the way in these tournaments you want to get different, and how to get different, at least in the Scott Fish Bowl, from what we've been seeing in these mocks, is people are not taking wide receivers hardly at all. So a way to get different is just to pound those wide receivers in those first 5 to 7 rounds. Ideally, you can just take 7 wide receivers right away, so you have to start 3. You have 4 flex spots, so you can start up to 7 wide receivers in the Scott Fish Bowl every single week. Obviously, you're going to have some bye weeks and stuff in there, but if you can go 7 wide receivers with those first 7 picks, that's kind of a way to get different in this league, but you're trying to win the tournament. So the idea is just to crush those wide receivers since they're falling super late. Everybody else is gobbling up those quarterbacks. They're gobbling up the top end running backs and those tight ends early. And just going through, like, if you hammer wide receivers with those first 7 picks, you're looking at guys around that 7th round. As far as ADP is concerned, guys like Amari Cooper, DJ Moore, Jamar Chase, Adam Thielen, Deontay Johnson, Brandon Ayuk, Cooper Kupp, Tyler Lockett. These are all guys going around the beginning of the 7th round. So us as the 11th picks, you get the first, 2nd pick. That 3rd round is going to be early, so you're early on those odd rounds. You're going to be early on the 3, early on the 5, late on the 4, late on the 6. But some of these guys that are going in that 7th round range are Deontay Johnson, Brandon Ayuk, Cooper Kupp. These guys are solid, like, top 20 wide receivers that you can get as your 7th wide receiver off, like, on your team. So you're going to be just smoking everyone, not only in the 3 wide receiver spots, but also those 4 flex spots where you're starting someone like a Tyler Lockett week in and week out every single week. Like, he's going to give you those boom bust games, possibly, but he's most likely going to finish as a top 20 wide receiver, and you're getting him maybe as the 7th wide receiver on your team. You're going to be smoking everyone at wide receiver and those 4 flex positions. That's 7 of the 11 starting spots in the Scott Fish Bowl. And if you're worried about what's kind of going to be left if you do a strategy like that, you can get some of these late tight ends, somebody like an Adam Troutman or like a Dan Arnold in Carolina, guys like that they're not going to give you super steady, elite, high-end production, but they're going to get you some points on a week in and week out basis that are kind of just a lower baseline, but you're going to be making that up by far in those flex and wide receiver spots. And then if you're nervous about the 2 quarterback or the super flex thing, the quarterback's actually late. If you're going like the 8th, 9th round in that range, you're probably not going to be able to get a Carson Wentz. Kind of depends on your division. They're all a little bit different, but going in that range, I mean, you can get like a Justin Fields, Ben Roethlisberger, Ryan Fitzpatrick, Sam Darnold, Jared Goff, even like some of the rookies, Zach Wilson. He might take off Jimmy Garoppolo if he plays the whole season. Drew Lock, Teddy Bridgewater. These are guys that are going to start, and yeah, you're not super confident in them giving you spike weeks, week in and week out. And somebody like Lock or turnover-prone guys like Daniel Jones maybe falls in that range as well. Like, those guys make you a little bit nervous, but if again, you're trying to win a tournament, if these guys kind of fix those problems, or you get some of those safer ones like Jared Goff, Sam Darnold, Fitzpatrick, they can have those down games, but they're giving you a steady floor each and every week. Yes, they're not Lamar Jackson, they're not Patrick Mahomes, they're not Kyler Murray, but these are guys that are giving you solid production week in and week out. And then you're also still getting that massive wide receiver production. You're not losing a ton on the field to the tight end, except the people that have Kittle, Waller, Kelsey, those types of guys. You're losing out on the tight end, but your tight end 15 wasn't that far off from the tight end 3 last year, so you're not really losing much at the tight end position there. And then kind of grabbing those lottery ticket running backs, guys like Gus Edwards late. If you're going to grab those quarterbacks super late, you can grab some of those running backs like that. Otherwise, just kind of grabbing some of those tight ends that are going to give, or not tight ends, the running backs that are going to give you that floor on a week in and week out basis. Maybe like a Gus Edwards or some of these, more receiving backs, since it is a PPR league. Who's going kind of later in those? James Conner, he looks like he's in line for some solid week in and week out volume at least. You can look at David Johnson. He's going super late. Zach Moss. And then even some of these guys like A.J. Dillon or Darrington Evans that are going to be super late, where if the guy goes out in front of him, for the rest of the season, blows out ACL, breaks a leg for a few weeks, you're going to get elite production from those guys like an A.J. Dillon, Darrington Evans, Alexander Madison, etc. Those guys are going to crush for a few weeks. And if you're there sitting with those 7 awesome wide receivers every single week, just crushing everyone, getting, your low-end tight end production, but, maybe solid week in and week out production, getting lucky on that quarterback, and then maybe, scratching those lottery tickets at the running back position potentially. And even, you don't even need those lottery ticket guys. Even someone like a James Conner and a David Johnson, they're going to get week in and week out volume. It's not going to be great, but you're going to get the production there and keep up. They're top 36 running backs probably at the end of the season, and you're going to get those week in and week out production, and maybe you get some of those spike weeks with them too that help you maintain. And then just those wide receivers crushing everyone in your flex spots. Your 3 wide receivers are probably going to be crushing most people, and then your 4 flex spots are just going to be dominant over everyone else. So that's kind of the strategy that the 11's have been putting into place as far as those guys that want to go win the tournament. And there's a lot of guys in there that I think they're going to be doing that. So it's, one of those things. You got to get different to win these tournaments, and that's definitely a different strategy, just pounding those wide receivers early and just watching everybody just get their faces melted week in and week out by your wide receiver core and your flex just dominating everyone else that's in their flex spots. So that's kind of the strategy a lot of these 11s are going to take, and something that you guys could take to win the Scott Fish Bowl tournament. You're trying to go up 1,920 people, so it's you versus 1,919 other people. You need to get different. This is a way to just absolutely melt faces, and still, there's some risk involved with those quarterbacks, but you can get some of those safety valves, Jared Goff's, and at running back, like a James Conner, tight end, just find those guys that are maybe going to get those consistent 4 or 5 targets every week that no one else kind of wants because they're not sexy, and they're giving you three catches for 2 first downs and 30 yards, and you're not losing that much. You're getting 8-10 points from them every week. So just smashing those wide receivers in those first 7 to 9 rounds, getting 7 of them there to just kind of donk every one of your opponents over the head at flex and wide receiver, and just dominating there from there and trying to win that tournament and getting different in that way. Anyway, guys, thanks for listening to the Scott Fish Bowl 11 strategy here on how to get different and kind of win that tournament. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Feel free to subscribe to the channel here. We'll be giving out some Scott Fish Bowl content throughout the year, and as well as giving out NFL Game Pass film, a lot of DFS content during the season, which is kind of the main reason for this account. Very accurate on the DFS content on who's going to hit each week based off of the offensive and defensive line play. So please consider giving a subscribe. Hope you enjoyed the Scott Fish Bowl strategy, and you can possibly implement it into your own strategy when July 5th hits and you start drafting. Thanks, guys. Bye.